Greetings, viewers of The Pioneer. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well as always. As The Pioneer team, we continue to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. Today, we will continue to convey the latest situation on the front line with a map. As you will soon notice in our latest comments on the front line is active, tension is quite high. The Ukrainian army shows great resistance in response to all offensive operations of the Russian army across the front line. In today's map report, we will mostly cover the developments on the Donetsk front line. The Donetsk front line may be decisive in the fate of the war at the moment. For nearly 3 months now, the fighting has been largely concentrated on this front line. Both armies are fighting fearlessly here. We have often referred to the meat attacks of the Russian army, but you may have noticed that we have not provided much new information on this subject in recent days. We can't mention it because the meat attacks of the Russian army have decreased considerably. We often discuss the reasons for this in our agenda reports. So what are the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at the developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to convey the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my team by using the super thanks button below the video. Let's start if you are ready, the Pioneer reports. Today we will not give too much information about the Kherson front line again because there is a great deal of calm in this region. Ukrainian Marines are defending their positions and bridgeheads on the east bank of the Dnieper River, and the Russian army, on the other hand, continues its routine attacks on these areas. Apart from this, the Kherson front line is quite stable. Talk about the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, the Zaporizhia front line was quite active today. Let's see the area on the map. The Russian armed forces are persistently attacking the western part of the Robotny. In general, it's not possible to say that there has been any border changes here. Both sides continue to hold the positions they had before the Russian offensive began. There is a situation that we can call a congestion or a vicious circle. The Ukrainian army needs to carry out more intensive artillery activity to protect the positions here. Ukrainian artillerymen are already working overtime here. The meat attacks of the Russian army started here as well. However, as a result of the Ukrainian artillery units inflicting heavy blows on the Russian army, the meat attacks were stopped early here. This performance must be maintained. In addition, if the attacks on the rare positions of the Russian army become more frequent, Ukrainian troops will be even more relieved. Let us also mention the artillery activity in the region. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian positions in Pyatykhatki, Novoandriivka, Orikhiv, Molotov-Makhta, Charnov, and Galiapol. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Zherbyanki, Kopani, Novoprokopivka, Verbov, Novofedoryovka, and Darzhianka. Now let us continue by analyzing the latest developments in the Vuhledar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. As we have stated many times before, in this region, sometimes after long periods of silence, a great noise appears. Again, unexpectedly, units of the Russian armed forces launch an intensive offensive in the direction of Pryodny with the support of artillery fire. However, these attacks were largely repelled by the Ukrainian defense forces. The Ukrainian army continues to defend its positions in the region. Today was a very active day in the terms of artillery units in the Vuhledar sector of the Zaporizhia front line. According to the latest reports, artillery units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian positions in Poltavka, Rivnopol, Stromoyorsk, Yorkhain, and Vuhledar. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted units of the Russian armed forces stations in Pryodny, Zavidny, Zheleniana, and Pavlovka. Now let's look at the latest developments on the Donetsk front line, which is the node of the front line. You can see the Donetsk front line on the map. According to the latest reports, on the Donetsk front line, units of the Russian armed forces supported by long-range weapons carried out a series of attacks on the Novomykhailovka from the south and north near Gorgorivka and in the direction of Marinka on the opposite bank of the Osikov River. There are reports that several areas in the Marinka area have become under the control of the Russian armed forces. However, these reports have not yet been confirmed. The units of the Russian armed forces attempt to advance near Novelski. Here, however, the Russian armed forces suffered a major setback and retreated. According to reports, the Ukrainian resistance was quite strong. Therefore, the Russian assault force, which suffered losses, had to retreat. The Ukrainian army continues to protect its positions in this region. Russian troops, supported by long-range weapons, carried out offensive operations near Femerskoye from the industrial zone to the southeastern outskirts of Avdiivka, from the northeast to the coke factory, and in the Stepnoe area. We see that the Russian army is carrying out offensive operations over a fairly large area. Although the Russian army aims to divide the power of the Ukrainian army by expanding the area, it still has not achieved any results here. The Russian attacks in the regions we mentioned were also successfully repelled by the Ukrainian defense forces. The Russian armed forces also launched an attack under Novobakhmutovka, which is under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces. Throughout the whole of this large area, the Russian armed forces have not made any gains. The Ukrainian army continues to largely hold its positions. Let us continue by mentioning the artillery activity in the area. According to the latest reports, units of the Russian armed forces targeted Ukrainian armed forces positions in Konstantinivka, Krasnogorovka, Lastochkin and Burdyaty, Alexandropol and New York. In turn, artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces targeted positions of the Russian armed forces in Marinka, Starmikhailivka, Donetsk, Belyodny, the village of Krasnogorovka and Horlivka. Yes, let's continue briefly at the Bakhmut and the Luhansk front line. According to the latest reports, the Russian armed forces continue their operations on the southern flank of the Bakhmut front line. In particular, there is an intensive attacks on Klishchivka and Andriivka. Defense positions and strategic points of the dominance of the Ukrainian army are being targeted. However, the Ukrainian army still continues to protect its positions. The Bakhmut northern flank was even calmer compared to the past days. The Luhansk front line draws a calmer outlook compared to the past days. As we mentioned in our latest reports, the forested areas around Sinkiivka are witnessing particularly intense clashes. However, in general, the borderline continues to be protected. Now it's your turn. Tell me what you think. Do you think that the Russian army is unable to make progress on the Donetsk front line despite carrying out an attacks on the wide area? What is a factor in the successes of the Ukrainian army's defense war? Let me know in the comments. You know that I read and I care about all your comments.